Trouble in the Shed. One morning I sat in my office listening to the chatter outside. How can I work with all this noise? I complained. The station master came in looking worried. There's trouble in the shed, sir, he said. Henry is sulking, there's no train, and the passengers are saying this is a bad railway. Indeed, I said. We can't have that. I picked up my top hat and went to the shed. I walked straight up to Henry, who was looking defiant. Come along, Henry, I said. It's high time your train was ready.
Henry's not going,
said Eunice.
None of us are. We won't shunt like common tank engines,
said James.
We are tender engines. You fit our coaches, and we will pull them, said Gordon. Tender engines do not shunt.
And the 5 big engines let off steam rudely. Is that sure? I asked, grinning. We'll see about that. Engines on my railway do as they are told. I walked away and climbed into my car, and my chauffeur drove me back to the big station. I found Edward in the yard shunting. Leave those trucks, please, Edward, I instructed. I want you to arrange the passenger trains for the big engines.
Yes, sir,
said Edward enthusiastically.
That'll make a nice change.
So Edward found coaches and trucks for the striking engines, and after a sluggish start the trains ran as usual that day. But the next morning, when I came to see Edward, he did not look happy. Gordon came clanking past at that moment, hissing rudely. Jumping crocodiles, I exclaimed. What a noise!
They all hiss me, sir, said Edward sadly. They say tender engines don't shunt, and they call me Black Wheel. I haven't got black wheels, have I, sir?
No, Edward, they're blue, and I'm proud of you, I said. Tender engines certainly do shunt. But all the same, you'd be happier out on the main line. We do need a tank engine here. I ventured north and visited an industrial line due for closure. The locomotive superintendent showed me their engine. A smart little green shuttle tank with 4 wheels. Just the one, I smiled. If I bring you to my railway, will you work hard?
Yes, sir,
bubbled the old shuttle tank. That's a good engine, I nodded. What's your name?
Well, I've always been called the Engine, sir.
I took a champagne bottle from the inside of my coat pocket. I'll call you Percy.
Yes, sir, thank you, sir,
said Percy as I broke the bottle over his buffer. So I bought Percy and hired Trevor to deliver him to the big station. Edward, I said as he was loaded onto the rails, this is Percy. Will you show him the ropes? Percy soon learned his way around and what he had to do, and he and Edward had a happy afternoon. Henry came by at one point, hissing at Edward as usual. Then Percy shot a jet of steam loudly and forcefully. Henry jumped and ran back to the shed.
What a beautiful wheesh,
laughed Edward.
I can't wheesh like that. That's nothing, said Percy modestly. You should have seen me up at the beet plantation. You have to wheesh loudly to stop the lorries from crossing the line in front of you.
The next morning, Thomas came to the yard.
Sir Top Matt sent for me. I expect he wants my help,
he said importantly.
Shh, here he comes,
replied Edward. Thank you for coming so quickly, Thomas, I said. Now listen, you 3. Gordon, Eunice, James, Henry, and Mildred are being rebellious. They say they won't shunt like common tank engines. I'd always intended to get another station pilot, and while I'm not sorry I bought you, Percy, I do not want the big engines to think I will bow to their wishes. So, I've shut them up in their shed. Edward, Thomas, I want you 2 to run the main line for a couple weeks.
Common tank engines indeed,
snorted Thomas.
We'll show him.
And Percy, you shall run Thomas's branch line in the meantime, I finished.
Oh, yes, sir,
answered Percy excitedly. And so, Edward and Thomas took up the challenge of working the main line on their own. They took it in turns to handle passengers and goods. There were fewer trains, and the passengers and customers complained. But not all of them. Some of them realized that the 5 big engines were having a lesson, and that this would be temporary. Percy had an easier time. He took Annie and Clarabelle along the branch line.
Take care of my coaches,
Thomas kept saying to him. Percy promised he would, and he was soon friends with Annie and Clarabelle. Gordon, Eunice, James, Henry, and Mildred stayed shut in the shed. Cold, broad, anxious, and miserable.